What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 10-7 MMA show. We are back. Happy Friday, everybody. March 20th, and we are just getting closer and closer to this Khamzat Chimaev versus Sean Strickland fight. There's Justin rocking the Extreme Couture shirt at the gym, of course, where Sean Strickland trains. So we're getting very excited as we get closer and closer to that fight. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of stuff in the news, and we also got some pretty cool fights tomorrow for this London card. That's going to be pretty exciting. We're going to talk about that later on in the show. We're also going to talk about Colby Covington, who I busted lying. Actually, the MMA community busted him on lying for one thing in particular. But then I think I've also uncovered some stuff that he's been saying that's completely fabricated and not true, which I've said the entire time. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. And you guys didn't check it out yet. I made a big expose on Colby Covington last night. I dropped it at around like 11 or something last night, PM PST. So make sure to check that out. It's like a 20-minute video where I go through all the details, all the nitty-gritty. But without further ado, let's get into the mix with this whole Eddie Hearn versus Dana White drama. That stuff has been going on back and forth. Eddie Hearn is not mincing his words. He had some more stuff to say again about the UFC. So Justin, I don't know if you've heard this clip yet. Have you heard Eddie Hearn go off on the UFC again recently?
No, I have not.
Okay, so I'm going to play this clip for you, and I'd love to get your reaction where he's talking about the state of the UFC and the state of MMA really right now. Let me do a quick share screen, and here we go.
Got like a whole stable of fighters that basically don't want to fight anymore for the organization. You know, they want to, there's almost like a revolt. I mean, look at what the Ronda Rousey stuff, the Jake Paul stuff. The UFC's in a bad spot at the moment, and it's all really down to the magnifying glass of boxing in a business where TKO just aren't going to make any money out of boxing for many, many years. So it's going to be interesting to see the appetite that they have for the fight, because you really have to focus on the UFC. It's a massive part of their business, and if they start, you know, losing momentum there, it's really going to affect their share price and the business as a whole. So, yeah, it's really interesting times. They're smart people. They're powerful. I think they're going to do well, but I don't know. I mean, right now, where are they in terms of the promotional list of quality and what they're doing? 8th, 9th? And these are control freaks. Do you know what I mean? They're not used to being 8th or 9th in a list. So they've got to try and work their way up. And I'm sure they will. But how many spaces can you move up? Because these other people, Top Rank, Golden Boy, Queensbury, PBC, they're on it full time, 24/7. Do you know what I mean? They're not doing one show and then having a month or so off and doing a bit of UFC and a bit of slap or whatever it's called. They are on it. And I just don't think Zuffa are going to compete. I really don't. The more I think about it, the more I see what they're delivering, the more problems that they have across their business. I think it's going to be really hard work for them.
I do want to sort of run a night said past you since that deal's been signed. There's a lot of things online saying, listen, Sky Sports is a bigger machine overall than DAZN is. So what's your argument in regards to that?
It's a fair comment. Okay. I mean, I look at the DAZN boxing numbers versus Sky.
Let me back up. I think I skipped the clip where he talks about Aspinall. Hold on.
Slip out of your hands. And like I said, I don't give up all hope on it, but one thing is for sure, Jerome Boots Ennis for the unified world, that's huge. But this is a great opportunity for Top to the platform. You're bringing even better value to subscribers. I mean, all of a sudden, if you're a DAZN subscriber, you're now going to continue to do that. And it was a massive move for DAZN. And
Tyson for now, and
I hate to see that. You know, I hate to.
Oh boy, I totally screwed this up. Okay, well, the main clip that I want to show you guys, what's up, M Gal Ford Productions? The main clip that I want to show you guys is where Eddie Hearn says he looked through Tom Aspinall's contract. And what he says is that the contract is abysmal based on the gate and based on what he thinks Tom Aspinall in a fight against Cyril Gane would bring in, based on what a fight with Tom Aspinall and Alex Pereira would bring in. He said the numbers are insane. And he thinks that when you factor in the cost of the camp and all these other things, he's like, why does he even bother to fight? He's like, he says the numbers are that low. Now, I'm sure that's a bit of an exaggeration, but then he also brings up this idea of, well, Dana White was asked about the Conor Benn payment, $15 million. And Dana White says, well, hey, that's good. The fighter should be happy that Conor Benn's getting this much money. But Eddie Hearn says, well, obviously, yeah, they would be happy if they were also getting it, but they're not getting these type of payments, right? Probably the top guys in the game of mixed martial arts are probably getting, what would you think? Like $5 million, maybe $10 million a fight, which is obviously nothing.
$2 to $5 million, I would say.
2 to 5 million. Okay. And that's outside of sponsorships, and that's outside of other deals and brand deals and whatnot. So this is just straight payment from the UFC. Obviously, Conor McGregor is an exception to this, but getting somewhere in, let's say, the $5 million range is still a far cry from Conor Brennan. So what he's basically saying is the payment that Tom Aspinall has is abysmal. I wonder how things are going to play out here. So let me turn it over to you, first of all. What do you make of these comments? What do you make of Eddie Hearn banging the drum, going at the UFC in terms of fighter pay? Do you think this ultimately is going to be the momentum and essentially what we need, or what the fighters need, to get the ball rolling, to maybe see if some of these contracts or the newer contracts can be renegotiated and things can start to change in the UFC like so many people think they should be changing?
It's a step in the right direction. But we've seen this before. Don't you remember the fighter union that they had all these big names behind it? The reason I know a little bit about it is because Randy Couture was about it. They wanted to come to advocate for health insurance and retirement and all this and all that. And they had a bunch of great big names behind it. Again, Randy Couture was one of the guys, Chuck Liddell, and look how that fizzled out. So until I see Dana White respond, until I see maybe some more, I don't know, man. It's hard to say until I see a reaction from the UFC. I'm not going to put much weight behind it.
You know, what I'm curious about is, where is the money going? That's what I want to know. For example, I've heard people say that the numbers are, it's like a 20% rev share versus a 50% or 40% or whatever in these other organizations. So the revenue shares is starkly different. But what I'm curious about, and what I've said is, like, what are the operating costs? So like, is all that excess money just going to a couple executives, or is it going to salaries of like people in high up positions on the executive team? Or is this money being put towards marketing, campaigning? Is it being put towards PI institutes globally? Is it being put towards things like the White House show? Like, that's also a question that I have. Is the money being spent in a responsible way, or is this money just going to Dana White and some other executives, and they're just getting massively wealthy off of all these proceeds? Like, that's a question. Have you ever heard anybody talk about this or answer this question?
No, but I will say that the UFC does put a lot of money into like the PIs. They have a PI in Vegas. They have a PI in China. There's speculation when I was in the UFC, so we're talking 3 to 5 years ago, they were building a hotel right next to the Apex. So when they had fighters come in, they had a hotel instead of renting out, because what the UFC was doing when I was in the UFC is they would essentially rent the whole hotel room. Like, there was nobody else there but fighters. So they were going to build their own hotel so they could fly people in to hold us at their own hotel. So I do think money is going in the right direction in a lot of those ways, but I'm sure some people are getting rich too.
Yeah, that's something that I'd be really curious about. What I'd love, like, again, Eddie Hearn is coming at this. We have to take everything that Eddie Hearn says with a grain of salt, because he's in a boxing war with Dana White. And I mentioned this. It is great to have Eddie Hearn in there, somebody who can actually break down and analyze the business, analyze the revenue, analyze the costs, and say, like, okay, this isn't adding up. And so he can be a really good logical voice, as opposed to the voices that we hear in the media. They should get paid more. They should get paid more. They should get paid more. How much? What's the numbers? Give us the breakdown. What should the minimum salaries be? Like, what makes sense? And how are you trying to change things? Are you trying to make it more similar to boxing or to the NFL? And in what ways, right? Like, instead of just speaking, like, just complaining without an actual direction, I'd love to see Eddie Hearn say, okay, this is how we can make it better. This is what would make sense if we divvy up the pie. And maybe not even necessarily, we don't even necessarily need to see the top numbers go that crazy high, right? 5 million a fight, 10 million a fight is what they're getting, which is still great money. But what about maybe some of the lower fighters? Instead of the 10 and 10 or 12 and 12, should it be 50 and 50 reasonably? Should it be 70 and 70? Maybe as a business decision too, to attract better talent, right? Especially in these upper echelons in the heavier weight classes. So these are some interesting questions that I think Eddie Hearn can answer. The only issue is he going to be totally honest and straightforward throughout this process, or is he going to take every chance he can get to just attack Dana White and the UFC brass? That's the question, but I think it's an interesting beginning to a new story, and we'll see how it unfolds. But hopefully this will mean good progress and good momentum and good direction for the UFC and the business as a whole, including the fighters. So there we go. All right, Justin, now I want to move on to topic number 2. This is the MVP card. We're talking about Gina Carano versus Ronda Rousey, the main event of Netflix's big event coming up in May. I think it's May 16th, if I'm not mistaken. That's the weekend we're going to be at Fusion Fight League, actually. So we're going to be out. I'll be out of town. I won't even be able to come to this fight if I wanted to go. But I asked the question, what is this fight going to look like? Because I was thinking about this the other day. Gina Carano was on the Jackson pod talking about this fight, And I was like, man, it's been so long since she's fought. The last fight she had was against Cyborg, who's no joke, who's still in there, still fighting. And I wanted to go back and look at the fight so we could get an idea of what Gina Carano looked like 17 years ago. This is when she was like 27. Now she's like in her 40s, mid 40s. And Justin, you have the seasoned eye. You've been watching MMA. You've been fighting MMA your whole adult life. I'm going to play this clip for you and let's break it down and let's talk about it. We're not going to play the audio, so I'm going to mute it. But I'd love to get your expert opinion on Gina Carano's fighting style and also what you think we can anticipate in this upcoming fight in May. So here's the beginning of the fight. Gina Carano is in the white shorts there. We see some striking. And you see Cyborg really laying it on right here, heavy at the beginning. We get this. Yeah, talk to us. What's happening here? What are you seeing?
I have no idea. I don't even know what they're doing.
And how
look, she's doing the right thing, spinning out, putting her foot on the backside, trying to kick that leg out. Surprised Cyborg is going. She doesn't have it though; it's too low on her. Maybe she has it, but I know she doesn't finish her here. I remember watching this fight live. I mean, her defense looks good.
Okay,
so far. Let's see what she does here. I mean, keep in mind, Cyborg is one of the greatest women fighters of all time, and she's in her prime here. So
for sure,
I mean, there is that to weigh in.
But I mean, compared to what we're used to seeing nowadays, it doesn't look like, I don't know. Okay, there she just gets a couple shots off.
It's the evolution of the sport, man. You know,
yeah,
it's a perishable. MMA fighting is a perishable skill, and a lot of people don't understand how that happens. That's so weird. That would never happen in a guy fight. Like, I just don't understand how that happens. Dude, look at this.
See some interesting ground and pound, and then lettering her back
up.
Why would
see, this is just his fight IQ. Like, this is not what you have to do here. Like, why would you want to engage? Like, drop to her guard, do something. Don't let her up. Oh my God, it's just bad. It's just poor fight IQ, and it's unfortunate, man. Because I like Gina Carano. The interaction I've had with her, she's really nice. She's really sweet. Her personality is just like she looks. It's really nice, you know. But honestly, I'm looking more forward to the weigh-ins than I am this fight.
I mean, I'm just seeing stuff that even at Fusion, even at the amateur level, we don't see this. Yeah, I don't really know.
Long ago too. Look at guy fights 17 years ago. Some guy fights look like this too. So I don't want to be too critical with her. Like, this is the best the girls had at that time. And sometimes, like I said,
totally,
there's a lot of guys that looked a lot worse than this in the UFC. Unfortunately, though, it's a perishable skill. She hasn't been active in 17 years. I'm looking forward to it more of the hot factor than actually think this is going to be a good fight.
Yeah, and I think, okay, and I'll stop it here. Listen. Obviously, we have to bear in mind the sport does evolve, and that's 100% true. But I think for a lot of us MMA fans that watch the sport regularly, I think it's going to be that's the thing that I'm worried about. This event, I don't think is going to be what people are expecting it. It's not going to look like MMA that we're accustomed to. It's going to kind of look like this. Now, maybe there'll be a quick finish. I know we were talking earlier. Maybe there'll be a quick finish, and that will be exciting just in general because finishes are exciting. But I don't even know. And then I guess I'm also imagining that Gina's going to be training armbar defense the entire time. So if Ronda Rousey doesn't get an armbar quickly, does she have finishes any other way other than armbar?
She knocked out. She's knocked a couple people out. I don't know how.
Really?
She didn't. Yeah, wow. This one girl, I can't remember. I want to say her name was Beth something. Beth, can't remember what it was. Beth Correa. I think I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. I think she's a Brazilian chick, but she's like waving Ronda on to come. She's putting her hands down, and then Ronda knocks her out like 10 seconds later.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's pretty crazy considering like when you see Ronda Rousey striking, it doesn't seem to be at the top level necessarily. So that is actually fascinating. You don't see a lot of knockouts too, and I feel like it's way less likely in women fights for whatever reason. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of curious to see. But one other thing,
she has 3 wins by knockout, by the way. 3 wins by knockout, 9 by submission.
That's crazy. Okay, well, that's very interesting. I actually didn't know that. The other thing is, Justin, the fact that these fighters are a little bit older, right, in the mid 40s, late 30s, does that make it more likely that we're going to see a knockout? Because isn't that somewhat consistent that your chin kind of dwindles as you get older? I mean, I know it depends on damage as well, but is that somewhat true?
I think so.
Okay. All right, well, I guess we'll see.
And she finished Sarah McMahon with a knee to the body. Alex Davis knocked her out in 15 seconds. Beth Correa knocked her out in 30 seconds.
Okay. Well, I guess we will see how this fight unfolds. This was just some of the things that I was thinking about, some of the concerns that I have about this being an amazing fight. You know, the Francis fight is going to be sick because we're going to get a knockout probably in round 1. I think the Mike Perry versus Nate Diaz fight is amazing. That would be an incredible main event. That will deliver. That would be amazing. I'm just not so sure about this main event, but I guess we'll see. And maybe we'll get a flash knockout, even if the technique won't look that pretty. It might be a quick finish, and that could be exciting for fans. Mr. Clapper says, what's up, everybody? What's up, Mr. Clapper? Welcome. Okay, now we're going to get into Colby Covington going completely berserk, saying all sorts of crazy stuff. And I want to talk a little bit about this because I think he has completely outed himself. Justin, I want to show you one of the things that Colby got busted for straight up lying. Remember, I told you guys, this guy's just making up stuff. He's claiming that Bo Nickel was never offered to him. I told you it's 100% facts that Bo Nickel was offered to him at the White House. I mean, dude, Justin, if you were offered the worst matchup on planet Earth, but you had the chance to fight on the White House, is there any chance in hell that you would have turned that down?
There wouldn't be a chance I'd turn down the worst matchup to fight back at the Apex again. Like this.
Okay, there you go.
I mean, we're talking about a huge payday. We're talking about a historic card. I'm kind of bummed out for Colby.
And bummed out for him, but like, how can
bummed out in the sense like I'm disappointed that he has this character and he doesn't back it up time and time again. And I'm sad for him.
And he's got this attitude where he's going at the UFC and complaining. And now, like, he used to be the biggest supporter of the UFC. And now he's completely flipped on them. He's just attacking them. Yet he's got the most privilege out of anybody. The guy got offered the crown jewel. He was going to probably be they may have been maybe the 4th fight still, but like he was going to be one of the most anticipated fights on the White House card. And he just didn't take it because he didn't like the matchup. And then now he's going out there and complaining. And not only is he complaining about the UFC, the guy's lying about the UFC. So I want to show you this clip where Colby got completely outed for lying. And there's other things that he's lied about as well. Check this out.
Situation. Colby Covington reveals dark truth about the UFC. Colby Covington is one of the most...
Oh, wait, not this clip. Hold on. It's after this. 1 second. Next. This one. Here we go. Nope, not this one. Hold on. Where's the fight? Where's the clip? Here it is. Check it out.
MMA community roasts Colby Covington for footage. Talking about big personalities in MMA, Colby Covington has been making some interesting comments the past few days on Neon streams. It seems like he's angry about being snubbed on the White House card and is resorting to turning his back on the UFC. What happened to being the company man? Well, according to Colby, the company isn't the same anymore. Sounds pretty similar to Ronda. Well, yesterday, Colby also said that the fighters don't get royalties from being on the UFC video game.
You ever use yourself in UFC, the video game?
Nah, I never played the UFC.
Your fighter's good.
Is it?
Yeah, it's tough.
I'm pissed they don't give us any money or revenue from it,
Dude,
bro.
what?
Yeah, that's why I don't play.
The fighters don't get cuts in the UFC game?
No. Yeah, college football players are getting cuts from NCAA football, but UFC fighters don't get no cuts from any of the royalties in UFC. Crazy, right?
Wow.
They use our name and likeness on EA
but
UFC.
Wait, but you can say, no, I don't want to be in the game, right?
I don't think, no. UFC, once you sign a contract, they have all your name and likeness. They can use it for anything.
Wow.
Right?
That's crazy.
This is obviously not true, and to make matters worse for Colby, there may be an even funnier reason if he hasn't seen any money from being in the game, according to sources. Yes, UFC fighters are compensated for their likeness appearing in EA Sports UFC games. Payments are often structured based on popularity, with fighters receiving checks determined by how frequently they are selected by players in the game. Now, of course, there are many angles that fans took to make fun of Colby over the past few days, but they seem to have the biggest laugh about this one. Many people on Twitter pointed out that Colby not seeing any money could be because not many people are picking him when they play this game, which if true that he has not seen any money from the game, then that would be a pretty funny reason why. They wrote, "Bro's finding out no one uses his character in real time." Ben Askren even confirmed on his Twitter that he had gotten royalties from the game, writing, "I can confirm that I have got multiple royalty checks from the UFC for the video game. Not sure exactly what their metric is for deciding who gets them. Never seen a single soul use Colby Covington in an EA."
All right, so there we go. There's the example. Now, not only do we have this example of Colby just straight up making stuff up, He's also went out there and said on Submission Radio he hasn't been offered a fight in 14 months, that they haven't offered him anything, or 15 months, and he's just sitting on his butt. Then later on in the stream, he's like, yeah, man, if you turn, and he's also said over and over, oh, I've never turned down a fight in my life. And then later on in the stream, he's like, yeah, when you turn down a fight, and if you don't want to take a fight that's not good for your career, they just ice you out. So what is it? Did you turn down fights and that's why you're not getting any matchups, or they haven't offered you a fight in 15 months, which is a lie, because if they did do that, he could easily sue them or ask for a show money. That's also in the contracts, that everybody knows that if they don't offer you a minimum of 3 fights a year, they have to pay you your show money. So I just like it. I don't know if it makes you as mad as it does me. I just find it so infuriating that if you're trying to latch on to this cause of like helping fighters make more money and doing all this stuff, but then you go out there and you lie and you're just doing it for your own self-interest, it's so aggravating. Don't make stuff up, and you're actually hurting the cause of the fighters. Do you agree with me? Is this bothering you the way it bothers me, or no?
It doesn't bother me anymore because Colby's so irrelevant, in my opinion, in the sport of MMA, the UFC. He's 100% irrelevant. He's been given 3 title shots. He's blundered it every single time. The UFC's went above and beyond and given him his fair share. Now he just sounds like a whiny little baby. And when I see his face on post, I don't even stop to hear what he has to say. I just keep scrolling.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like you said, he's been given more opportunities than anybody. So for him to all of a sudden turn heel and go at the UFC is just, it's laughable. The guy got that shot against Leon Edwards that everybody was pissed off about. And then that performance was terrible. And then I think he turned down a bunch of fights after that fight, and then finally was forced to fight Joaquin Buckley, probably for financial reasons. I don't know. Took that fight on short notice and then got steamrolled. And now he's refusing to take any fight unless, dude, he's asking for Nick Diaz. That's who he wants. Nick Diaz, not Nate Diaz, Nick Diaz.
I think I saw that.
It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely infuriating. All right. Well, anyways, enough about that. Enough about my rant on Colby. Listen, man, I respect all the fighters in the UFC. I really do. And I think what they do is amazing. This is just one guy that really aggravates me. It's not even from the fighter perspective. It's from being a man, that perspective. Like, why you got to go out there and act that way and be that type of a role model for people, for kids, for everybody. And then on top of that, you're hurting the cause. You had plenty of chance to go out there and help fighters and speak your mind if you really thought there was an injustice when you were on top, when you had the platform, when you actually were getting title shots. You didn't do it. I wonder why. Because you don't care. You actually don't care. And now you're just using this to your advantage. It's infuriating. Okay, now let's get into the fights tomorrow. Let's go. We got Movsar Evloev. Yeah. Are you
I dropped the ball on this one. I thought this was next weekend, man. Fuck. I didn't realize it's Saturday. Well, what's today? Today's
Friday. Maybe you can still get something out.
Oh man, it's gonna be tough. I have people in town tonight. I'm supposed to meet them at dinner at 5. I'll try to do it after the show.
Okay, so we got Evloev versus Lerone Murphy. So Justin hasn't broken down this fight yet, but I've heard a lot of people talking about it. I've heard a lot of people weighing in. I think the general consensus is that people think, even though Evloev maybe doesn't have the best striking, but his style is going to be difficult for Murphy. They think it's going to likely go to decision. This is what Bedtime MMA was saying on Submission Radio. He's like, surprise, surprise. And this is going to go to decision because both these guys generally do go to decisions in a lot of their fights. Although Lerone Murphy did have that crazy knockout against Aaron Pico, which was pretty cool. But yeah, he's saying the prediction is decision, and the prediction will be Movsar Evloev for this #1 contender fight, just off of the fact that we've got Evloev, Dagestani fighter, heavy wrestler, versus Lerone Murphy, who doesn't have that great wrestling base. He's also a UK fighter. UK is not known for crazy wrestling. What are your thoughts? Do you feel like it's going to go in a similar direction that Bedtime MMA thing?
Yeah, man. You take a Dagestani fighter going against a very high level striker. He's going to take Murphy into deep water. Going to wear on and probably win a decision like 49-40 or 49, 46 or something like that.
So Movsar Evloev is the favorite between a -245 and a -260. But this is going to be a fun fight. I'm very excited. I saw that Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico fight live. That was at UFC 319 on Khamzat's card. It was a pretty wild spinning elbow. And I'm very excited to see Aaron Pico come back soon. I hope he does come back soon because he's a really, really fun fighter to watch as well. Very, very exciting. And apparently like an athletic phenom. Bo Nickel was on the Jackson pod talking about what an incredible fighter and what an incredible athlete Aaron Pico was when they were both coming up together. So I'm excited to see Aaron Pico come back when he does. But yeah, right now we've got Murphy versus Evloev, and it looks like the winner is going to be fighting Alexander Volkanovski. We got another really, really fun fight on this card. Michael Venom Page. What's your thoughts? And he's fighting Sam Patterson, I believe, who's a former training partner of his. Michael Venom Page said he would bring Sam Patterson in, I think, to mimic Wonder Boy and also Ian Gary, I think, and Kevin Holland, because he's like a tall, lanky guy. So when he was, he hasn't fought in Wonder Boy, but when he was fighting Kevin Holland and when he was preparing for Ian Gary, he had Sam Patterson in his camp, and now he's having to fight him. But let's not talk about Sam Patterson. Let's talk about Michael Venom Page. It's been a while since we've seen him fight. Are you a fan of MVP?
Yeah, man. And the thing I like what the UFC is doing with him is he's not really a title contender. He's never going to be a UFC champion, but he brings excitement to fights. And the UFC's done an incredible job matching him up. And I think he's a very exciting fan favorite to watch. He's somebody that's not going to be a champion in my book. And I'm going to tune in and watch him fight every time.
Dude, he's so fun to watch. He's got such a unique style. But what do you think if he gets this victory? So he's been saying he's been upset with the UFC. One of the things he's been saying is that he thinks that maybe the reason why he hasn't been getting the matchups of the fights that he wants or is asking for is because he's been bouncing around between 185 and 170, just stepping up to the plate, which is awesome from a fighter's perspective. Like you, I know you probably appreciate that, right? He's taken on all comers, but he believes that has hampered him in either division. So now he wants to kind of stick around and stay at 170 where he feels he has the best advantage. But let's say he gets this victory against Sam Patterson. Do you think there is a possibility that he can still have one possible title run in him? I mean, I think he's getting close to 40, but with that, it's an interesting style in the welterweight division. What do you think?
I don't think so. I think he's always going to have exciting fights, always going to be a striker's delight when he's in the cage. He has that long, like Taekwondo style. He's fast. But when someone, especially at 185, get their hands on, what do you think he can beat? Sean Strickland? You think he can beat, Khamzat? You think he can beat, who's the 70? You think he can beat Islam? No, he's just too one-dimensional. He's solely based as a striker, and he's too old to fix his holes.
Actually, if he did go back up to middleweight, you mentioned Sean. I actually think Sean Strickland, he'd have a decent chance. That would be the one, because that's one guy that's not going to take him down. Remember, we saw he had a major problem on the ground against Ian Gary. So, yeah, I mean, if he went up to 185, I think.
And Ian Gary's not known for his wrestling. That's the thing. Like, Ian Gary out-wrestled him from start to finish, and he's not known for his wrestling. So now you get someone that's in there that's good at wrestling, known for the wrestling. That's another thing I want to make clear is I've gotten some hate on this Sean Strickland video about how he's never fought wrestlers. Listen, everybody, just because their wrestling isn't their base, everybody, if you're in the UFC, you can wrestle. Michael Venom Page can wrestle. Just because it's not his primary doesn't mean he can. But this whole false narrative of, he's not known for, like Sean, he's not known for his wrestling, so he can't wrestle. Everybody, to get to that level, you have to be able to wrestle at some point. And that's like DDP took him down 6 times the first time, and his 70. And even after those 6 takedowns, his takedown defense is still 76%. Imagine without those 6 takedowns, dude, we're going to be 85% even. So, just because some guy's not good at one thing or maybe more based, like MVP isn't based in wrestling, let me tell you this. I bet he can still wrestle, and I bet he'd tool I know he'd tool all civilians up, and he probably could hang with most guys in the division, whether he wins or not, he can probably hang them.
The more I think about it, an MVP fight against Sean Strickland would be very, very interesting because they both have somewhat unorthodox styles. And I wonder how Sean would deal with that in and out, right? With the forward pressure. How do he deal with that? That's a freaking great fight, actually. It's not going to the ground. Never. Sean refuses to wrestle or like engage in wrestling. Yeah. That'd be really, really fun. I don't know if we'll get it, though, because I think MVP is going to stick around at 170, but that's fascinating. Anyways, guys, I think this is going to be a really, really fun fight. I'm definitely rooting for MVP for sure. And I think if you're generally an MMA fan, you should be as well, because he brings something very unique to the table. Nobody fights. Wonder Boy doesn't even fight like that with that point style in and out and with that speed. I think he's faster than Wonder Boy. It's a more fun style than Wonder Boy. So we'll see what happens, but MVP is back. So be on the lookout for that. And I believe the main card starts at 1 p.m. PST, which is super cool as well for all of us on the West Coast. Okay, now we get to the final part. We get to the final part of the show. We got some very, very interesting stuff to talk about Khamzat versus Strickland, because Justin actually had a conversation with Eric Nixick earlier today. Eric said you can talk about whatever you want in terms of the game, to some extent of the game plan that Sean and Eric are developing and working on in preparation for this Khamzat fight. But before we talk about the game plan, I wanted to show Justin this clip from the Weasel that I saw last night. So this clip really breaks down the Khamzat Strickland fight, and he talks about why he believes Khamzat is going to be victorious in this fight. And I tend to agree. This is exactly what I was thinking. I just couldn't articulate it as well as Weasel. But let me play this for you, and I'd love to get your thoughts. And you can also explain how you think perhaps Sean Strickland is going to counteract the strategy from Khamzat.
Strickland is going to make this fight a lot bigger, but does he win the fight? This is the interesting part of it. So I think Khamzat is going to wrestle him pretty dominantly in the first round, but if Strickland's able to defend him, his takedown defense is good. His get-ups are even better. He can start to win the striking exchanges, but Khamzat's striking is also underrated. He's got a lot of power. He actually has decent offensive boxing, very fast, precise jabs, and his right straight is incredibly powerful. If you see all the sparring videos between him and Khalil Roundtree, he is absolutely torturing that guy on a day-to-day basis. It seems like his kicks are pretty decent as well. He has good teeps to the body, round kicks. They even landed against Dricus a few times from both stances. But I wouldn't say his striking is as good as Strickland's. He can work with some stuff by presenting the takedown threat, but Strickland is so defensive with the striking. He's not going to give as many openings as anybody that Khamzat has fought so far. Burns, Usman, Whitaker, Dricus. Strickland's defense can cause Khamzat to make mistakes, opening up counter shots, therefore the 1-2s, just putting the jab on him as many times as he can, and then leaning away from shots, countering over the top. But once those takedowns get mixed in there, I think it becomes so difficult for Strickland. It's because of the way that Strickland stands. He's so narrow and tall. It's like inviting takedowns. The thing that goes against Strickland are his teeps and him constantly bringing up those knees for feints. The thing that work against Adesanya will be his detriment against Khamzat. In fact, that's the way Khamzat took down Dricus in the first round. Dricus lifted up that knee, but more as a defense instead of like feinting. So he essentially just gave the takedown to Khamzat. A very tall and squared posture would be like asking for Khamzat to double leg him. But Strickland is pretty good at defending takedowns, using the underhook and pulling the opponent up off his hip, fighting off the hands. But Khamzat has those really low shots that even like dumbfounded Robert Whitaker. Like Whitaker didn't even know how to defend that. And look at the way he took down Usman in the first round. Like Usman tried so hard to defend, and after he like initially defended the single leg, the chain wrestling just took effect, and Khamzat grabbed him around the back and then slowly broke him down to the mat and then got his back. And the reason why Khamzat wasn't shooting takedowns in the second round was because he broke his hand in the first. Anyone's wrestling would become weaker once you break your hand. And the thing that we have to also take note is that Khamzat has evolved. Khamzat's shown he has 5-round cardio now. Ever since he changed his training camp, this guy's just been a monster, man. What he did to Whitaker and then what he did to Dricus, like that is the new and improved Khamzat. This is not the same guy that fought Usman and Gilbert Burns before. He was saying essentially he was like winging it in training most of the time. He didn't have like a structured training camp the way he does now. And he has some high level, like top tier coaches. And whoever Strickland remembered in the training room, if it in fact did go the way he said it did, is not the same guy he's going to be standing across the cage from. Strickland.
Okay. So there is the basic breakdown from Weasel. Like I said, when I heard that, I was like, that's exactly how I feel in terms of matching these guys up and what we are to expect. But you had to talk with Eric Nixick today. You see Sean all the time at Extreme Couture. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your take on this fight, especially after speaking with Eric today.
You know, I know there's no. It just kind of reiterated what I've always said about this fight with the underappreciated grappling in this sense. And you know, there's a lot of things like some of the techniques that they're working on is staying disconnected. What I mean by that is when someone typically shoots a double leg, our first instinct is to get under their armpits and lift them up and fight from like an over-under position. That's not Sean's strategy. He's going to be playing with frames. What I mean by that, instead of trying to go under Khamzat's armpits and lifting him up, he's going to be framing on his shoulder, hitting him with shots. He's not going to be working that lead leg teep kick too much because he doesn't want to get taken down off it. Instead, he's going to be switching to sometimes going to go inside, switch to a southpaw and fire it from afar so Khamzat can't get his hands on his leg. Now, I've talked about this before. When Sean throws the jab, he doesn't aim at his partner's face. He's aiming at their chest. And I've shown it in the videos. I've shown it in pictures. And that's going to be very key here. When Khamzat goes down, he needs to lower his level with him. He's going to be punching at his chest more than his face. Khamzat's chain wrestling, as we talked before, I don't think he's going to take Sean down with the first takedown. What I think it's going to be the chain wrestling. He's going to shoot a double, then he's going to go up to a body lock. He's going to get on. He tries to get on his opponent's backs. When his opponent's turned back around, he drops to a single, looks for a dump, but he does this every single time. It's his chain of command, A, B, C. And then he can go from C to A to C to B, and he can but it's just 3 or 4 moves that he's really good at. And when you know the route, you can get ready to defend. So when he shoots the double, okay, I stopped the double. All right, he's going to go to body lock next. All right, well, now we can start defending the body lock before we transition to this next part. Now, if he's on my back and I'm just in the open trying to turn, once I do a big turn, he's going to drop down to a single, look for his dump. All right. These are something that Eric is picked patterns up on, and this is what they're working. So when he shoots double, he's going to immediately have to defend him going to the back. And when he's on the back, he's immediately going to have to defend going to single leg. So distance management, or as Eric said it, he gave a new term that I haven't heard before, but I asked him, like, is this the same thing as distance management? And he says, yes. He's just saying it in different words. What is he called it, like, territory awareness or something like that. What I mean is he can't be connected. He has to stay disconnected. Whether he's using a frame to stay disconnected, whether he's using his jab to stay disconnected, he can't let Khamzat get his hands on him and get his hands locked. If he gets his hands on his arms and his shoulders, he's still disconnected as long as he can keep his back and his hips away. So the big thing is, like, I can't, and it's not, he didn't say territory management. He said something else, but it's the same. And it's the same thing as distance management. I've been saying that since day one.
Okay. Interesting. And now, as have you been? You don't really train with Sean, right? Because you guys are such different weight classes.
Yeah,
and all that
his practice is at 10 a.m. Mine's at 11. They do heavyweight, or like 170 and up at 10 a.m. and then 155 and down at 11.
What's the atmosphere like in the gym? Because to me, this is the biggest fight of the year. I said the biggest fight of the decade when I made my video. Maybe that was a bit of hyperbole, but I don't know. I kind of feel like this fight is going to be so massive once we get to fight week. But what's the atmosphere in the gym like? Do people feel the tension? Is it like, oh my God, we're preparing for war and this is going to take over the UFC?
I don't think so, man. I don't really see any different attitude in the gym than I normally do. Sean's always in the gym. He's always training. So I don't think this is any different from any other fight camp to Sean. I think Sean just loves to fight, and he doesn't care who he's fighting. He doesn't care if it's for a belt or not. He just loves to fight.
What do you think? Last thing I want to ask you, and I know this is a bit of speculation, but one of the things that the Weasel said, which I do know to be true as well, just from all my research of Khamzat Chimaev, that he used to train back in the day. Oh, he used to overtrain. He didn't really have his conditioning locked in like he does now. That's why part of the reason why he was getting so sick. Now he trains with Coach Cal out in Long Beach, and he has this whole protocol. We saw the massive improvement in cardio when he fought DDP, and he's also training at Jackson with Khalil Roundtree and some of these other light heavyweight guys. He's basically saying that Khamzat is a different fighter than when he used to train at Extreme Couture with Sean Strickland back in the day. Do you feel there's merit to that claim, just based on what Weasel is saying and what you've seen from Khamzat in his last few fights? Do you feel like he's truly evolved to a brand new level that Sean hasn't experienced? You guys haven't seen Extreme Couture. Do you think that's a bit overhyped?
I think it's overhyped. And Khamzat was only at Extreme Couture for a little while. It wasn't like he was there for years. Like I don't want to put a time frame on it, but I know it wasn't that long.
I think it was 6 weeks or something like that.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
I mean, he's on vacation essentially. So it's. Yeah. I mean, there might be merit to it. There might not be. The only thing I can say is time will tell.
Okay. Well, that's all we got for you guys today. It's a little bit of a shorter show, but we covered all of our topics, and we are just getting more and more excited for this May 9th card. Guess what I found out today, too? Our next Fusion fight card after April 11th is May 16th. Thank God. Thank God it does not overlap with this amazing UFC fight, because I'm going to have a big party and we're going to go crazy. I'm going to be wearing all Khamzat Chimaev stuff. Sean, you can come dressed as Sean Strickland, and we're going to tear it up. No, it's going to be a really, really,
I'm going to videotape you crying.
Oh, damn. Damn, no, don't do that. But yeah, so we are very much looking forward to this, and we got a lot of cool things on the horizon. And maybe the UFC will somehow get John Jones on the White House card. Is there still hope? Is it still possible?
There hasn't been hope for years for me.
Oh man. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. But anyways, that's all we got for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining. If you guys could click that like button, show us a little love, we'd really appreciate it. Help the show grow, help the channel build as we want to keep taking this thing to the moon. So thank you guys so much for joining, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take it easy.